Now, let's go to the Special Prosecutor. What's happening with him? Let's hear Martin Amidu express some frustrations and difficulties he has doing his job and doing it well. When we are done with him, or we'll box together with his, Daniel Domilovo, the Auditor-General, you heard the affair marking on him last week, but we'll take our time today and hear him more clearly on that issue. So let's hear Martin Amidu.
We fight against corruption by the appointment of one person. You need to establish an office. That office must have all the components of division. The investigators must be in place. The prosecutors must be in place. The asset recovery personnel must be in place. The asset corruption prevention personnel must be in place. I have been in office for 7 months. There is no legislation for me to recruit. There is no legislation for me to operate. I don't have the component of staff, and therefore I have just a core component of staff. I just received 3 investigators, an inspector, a sergeant, and a corporal on Monday, and yet the public is baying. What is he doing? He's not catching the people. In any case, you just don't walk onto the street and say, your face looks like corruption. I've caught you. I'm saying this for the public to understand that we have set up an office. We have to organize that office, have the requisite personnel. It doesn't take 1 day. My law says that 90 days after the assumption of office of the Special Prosecutor, pursuant legislation must be enacted. As we speak today, I have no legislation. So I use my common sense. The law says I can coordinate with other organizations. So I coordinate with the Auditor-General. I coordinate with Yoko. I coordinate with other anti-corruption bodies, so as to find a way by which we can begin to work towards the ultimate end. I have warned that if most of these things were not done by the middle of this year, then this office may not be able to be seen to be doing its mandate by middle next year. Because by middle next year, you are in election year. If I arrest somebody, you will turn up and look at it. Which party does he hold the insurance card from?
Right. So that's Martin Amidu, the Special Prosecutor. And those are his complaints. Among others, he says he's seeking information to be able to do things, and he's getting frustrated from, officials from whom he's seeking the information. Is he right by suggesting that without the LI, he is inefficient and therefore has to use his common sense rather than reliance on law to do his job up to this time? We'll hear from government as well. But let's start with Yunus Hussaini. The section 78 of the law that sets up Martin Amidu's office says the minister shall, within 90 days, upon the assumption of office of the Special Prosecutor, in consultation with the board, the minister is the Attorney General, by legislative instrument, make regulations, A, to prescribe the manner for tracing tainted property, B, prescribe the procedure for declaration of property and income, C, prescribe the procedure for the seizure of tainted property, D, prescribe the procedure for management of assets seized under this Act, E, prescribe the procedure for the management of assets in respect of which a freezing order has been issued under this Act, F, prescribe the procedure for confiscation and pecuniary penalty and others, G, prescribe the procedure for the submission of complaints, H, regulate the management of seized, restrained, or confiscated assets, I, regulate the disposal of assets under this Act, J, prescribe the procedure for reporting to the public in respect of corruption and corruption-related cases handled and convictions secured, and finally, K, provide generally for the effective implementation of this Act. He says without the LI to do from A to K, he has been using his common sense. Is he right?
Very, 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 very right. And you can see that because the law, Act 959, was a special creature arising out of the manifesto promise of the MPP prior to the 2016 elections, crystallized into policy upon winning the election 2016 and given legislative backing, you need this procedure, personal legislation, to be able to operationalize the office of the Special Prosecutor. What we have done, the law sets up the structure, the institution. But you know that this morning we've been talking about the rule of law. In Moshi and Virginia, we are told clearly that the rule of law is as important to substantive law as it is to procedure.
Perfecto.
You understand? So what he's saying is that what he's actually saying is that he needs clear guidelines. And Samson, you were part of the people who were putting pressure, and you, Kofi,
yes,
the people were putting pressure on us to pass the law. And the contours of the law were to be navigated carefully. In fact, when we were considering the bill, there were always issues of the constitutionality of the bill. And we said we're endeavoring to craft a bill, one, to meet the legitimate aspirations of the people of Ghana, and two, to ensure that it's consistent with Article 88. We've been able to do that. Indeed, the initial draft, I don't know whether you have it on your PC, the initial draft did not give the Attorney General 90 days. It gave the Attorney General less than 90 days because we thought that the allies, even government itself, thought that the ally and the law must come simultaneously. And that fitted into the president saying that he's in a hurry. And also,
the dates were increased from somewhere of 20-something days to 40 plus days,
and then
eventually to 90 days.
When we got to Kofredo, we were considering the bill that, again, civil society said, look, don't give the Attorney General a reason for excuse. Give her 90 days, 3 months. Okay, so we acceded, 90 days. Amidu's lamentations are a clear and unmistakable manifestation of the difficulties he's going through presently. What he has done is helping the people of Ghana manage the onerous expectation put on him. He's managing our expectations and saying that, look, yes, Amidu as a public servant and a citizen vigilante has been complaining of the levels of corruption in this country. He had single-handedly taken corruption matters on his own and dealt with them with his own resources. If Amidu is lamenting today, he should give us a cause for concern. And his lamentations are not, hey, Bentel, you see, we have given the office of the Special Prosecutor 3 important functions. We've given him the investigative function. Under present arrangement, governor's arrangement, investigative functions are separate from prosecutorial functions. But for the Attorney General, we've lumped the investigative functions and the prosecutorial functions in him. We've also added some powers to him. The powers pursuant to the investigative powers to trace and confiscate or seize, power of seizure. Except that when he seizes, he goes to court to confirm it. Because the office is so important that we thought that we should give him all these powers. And to have been in office for 7 months with the procedures, the prescription of the procedures for seizing property, for complaints, even how do you file a complaint? So he uses common sense. Bring me a petition. Is that the way we want it to be?
Is he giving excuses for his non-performance so far, or you say he's genuine? Because you say, like, how to file a complaint. Don't we have standard procedure of filing a complaint that he's aware of? Do you need an LI to be able to know how to do that? And is it really true that he's depending on his common sense rather than the established procedure. If you go to section 28, for example,
yes,
it says that the special prosecutor and authorized officer shall exercise the powers of a police officer,
yes,
specified in the Criminal and Other Offences Procedure Act,
yes,
and or any other enactment.
yes.
So all of these laws are available for their information, isn't it?
Yes.
He says he's requesting information and he's having difficulty.
Yes.
Section 29 says that he has the power to request information, and when he seeks information and people do not comply to give the information, he's supposed to take them to court, and they'll be prosecuted. Does he need an ally to do this?
He needs an ally.
These are only excuses.
No. He needs an ally. I mean, you just read it.
The LI doesn't say there ought to be prescriptions in the LI how to do these things.
That's what it says.
No,
read them
it
again.
does not.
Read them again.
It does not.
No, read them again.
It does not.
The LI says you need
There's
to
no.
prescribe.
Sorry, I'm interjecting, but seriously,
the
you
law
need to
says
educate
that.
people a bit. Look,
Yes.
there is the Enabling Act. The Enabling Act is sufficient within itself to make the person holding the office act. The LI is defining. So this, what something is reading tells you that the special prosecutor or the office has the powers of a police person.
Yes.
That is enabling.
But he's
So
not a
he-
policeman.
No, so I'm telling you that he can act there. You see, the LI puts together all those things to define these things and guide him. It is not by itself an enabling act or one that
We have
removes
not said
his
so.
power.
We have not said so.
So let's be clear when we are
Samson,
trying
can
to.
you go over what the LI is supposed to do? For your listeners to
So what the
understand.
LI is supposed to do, it says prescribe procedure for declaration of property
Yes.
and income.
Yes.
Prescribe procedure for seizure of tainted property. Prescribe procedure for management of assets seized.
Yes.
Prescribe procedure for management of assets in respect of which a freezing order has been issued.
So-
prescribe procedure for confiscation and pecuniary penalty
Yeah.
orders.
Yes.
Prescribe the procedure for submission of complaints.
Yes.
Regulate the management of seized, restrained, or confiscated
So let's
assets.
talk about the procedure.
Regulate the disposal of assets.
So the
prescribe
procedure.
the procedure for reporting
So if there is
to
no
the public
procedure-
what he's doing.
So
No,
Samson,
it says
if there's no
prescribe.
procedure,
There is
what's he
procedure.
using to do that?
Prescribe,
It's
set
common
out,
sense.
define. So he can
There's
still do it.
no LI prescribing the procedure.
The law doesn't say the LI should prescribe procedure
The law would have
for
said-
how to procure information from officers who are deemed to be suspected to be corrupt or are engaging in corrupt
The
activity.
law would not have provided for it in the section 78 if the procedure adopted by police was enough, or if the procedure as existed. The law presumes that all the procedures in the various legislation to do what you have read are known to us.
The absence thereof does
And
not
so the
constitute
fact
an
that we have
impediment.
provided
Okay.
for it
Thank you.
means that it should be
Thank you.
clearly spelled out.
Thank you.
Clearly
I'm going to continue with you, the lawyers, but I want to hear Kuku on this first. Let's listen to the
297.
Attorney General. Let's listen to the Attorney General, Gloria Kufu, how she reacts to this, and then we'll hear Kuku make his submission.
That this is a new thing that we are putting together. It is not an existing law. Based on that, you put together a draft that must be consistent with the dictates of the law. So I am not saying that if he is blaming somebody for inordinate delay, I am not blaming him. I am saying that soon after the passage of the law, we started the process of putting the regulation together. And that in between time, we have had, and it is normal with any piece of legislation. It does not take just a one-sitting writing. It takes a lot of thinking, plus the fact that you have to have it gazetted and all that. But as I speak now, you can cross-check from him whether, since he assumed office, we have not been forwards and backwards with him to put the regulation in place. And I'm saying that as we speak now, in view of changes that he demanded to be made, we have since incorporated the changes he has demanded, and the document is back with him. I am stating the fact as it is. I am not blaming anybody for delay, because I do not even admit that there is any undue delay in putting together the regulation. It's easy for people to sit out and assume that once he assumes office, he will start holding people by the hand and taking them to court. It doesn't work that way. This is a new machinery that is being put in place. You need to have a board in place, a managed board which has been put in place. There are processes of even putting together your entities that will enable you to say that he has not been given anything. As soon as he came, the chief of staff, at the instant, they found a place for him so that at least because of the independence, he has to take charge of setting the place up. At least the place was found and furnished for him to enable him to start the inception work. So I am surprised that the impression is being created that somewhat deliberately somebody is frustrating his work. The regulations are with him. He even took objection that we had started working on it when he had nothing to do with it. We said we were doing a draft for his consideration, which we did. It's gone to him about 2-3 times. It is as I speak with him, and we are waiting for his say-so we can finalize it for it to go to Parliament.
Okay, so that's the Attorney General responding to him. We have heard Deputy Chief of Staff Abu Jinapo, and we have heard Joseph Pemka, the Deputy Attorney General, also respond to him. But this was the Gloria Kufu giving a reaction on Star FM. What do you have to say?
Well. I wished we hadn't had this public exchanges between the Special Prosecutor and the Attorney General, with all the other subsidiary elements coming on board. I wish they had focused internally to deal with these challenges. Unfortunately, the Special Prosecutor spoke somewhere, the Attorney General has responded, and others too have come on board. I've checked one of the headlines that said the Attorney General had described the Special Prosecutor as a very dishonest person. From my checks, that's misleading. That was not true.
She didn't say that.
She didn't say that. Yeah. But these days, especially on social media, the headlines don't fit the body of the story. It isn't as if we too haven't been doing that.
That's why I was looking at
Yeah, print media too is guilty of that.
No, but even if you know the Attorney General, it's very difficult to think that she would even say those things.
Where the caveat has covered it.
Yes.
Right.
But I am in total, full support of Martin Amidu as Special Prosecutor. I backed it from day one, and I'm going to remain consistent. I want Ghanaians to give him, including government, to give him the fullest of support. That man is fit for purpose relative to this particular office, specialized agency that we have created using the laws of this country. But I also caution him to, manage the process well. You remember on this same platform, I said I believe the office, the nature of the office will tame him relative to temperament and reaction and things. And I think my brother Martin should take that on board. Now let's deal with specifics. You see, if you are not careful, I got a hint when Martin was speaking that he was reacting to public concerns about the inertia of his office, about non-performance of the office. People want to see prosecutions left, right, center. I'm not one of those who think you should hurry up to do prosecutions. If you are not careful, you will collapse in the court of law. But I think he was reacting to that. But you see, the things we were seeing, he had articulated them in a formal way to government in a letter dated September 10th, 2018. So I was thinking that keep it that way. You send communication to government, raise those issues, government is dealing with you on the matter, so leave the issues there. It's possible you've been invited to a public forum, you've been asked to articulate some issues. Still be careful how you do it, so as to not unleash some, right now, also everybody is talking some. I've heard a minority member of parliament say, oh, this is an attempt to frustrate him, the president is not committed to the fight against corruption, all sorts of things. Everybody is talking some, and it creates unnecessary diversions and distractions for his office. Let's focus on one issue, for instance. When it comes to the LI, now you people know better than I do. But you see, I have found out through my own checks that there's been consistent engagement between the Special Prosecutor, or if you like, the Office of the Special Prosecutor, and the Attorney General, and the Attorney General's department. See, I hold here a letter dated 28th September. When was that? Yesterday.
Yes. Okay.
Addressed to the
So you have
Attorney
missed
General.
you have missed these things, eh?
Current
You have missed these things. Okay, let's
addressed
go.
to the Attorney General.
Right.
Legislative instrument for the Office of the Special Prosecutor, Section 78, Act 959. Kindly refer to your letter number so and so and so of 19th September 2018, which was hand-delivered to this office on 24th September 2018. This office takes note of the fact that you have incorporated the suggested definition or meaning of the words data mining, quote unquote, and intelligence analyst, quote unquote. It provided for your consideration into the interpretation part of the regulations. This office takes the view that the draft Office of the Special Prosecutor Operations in brackets regulations in the revised form conveyed by your letter under reference represents the negotiated common ground workable for this office. The responsibility for the final regulations submitted to Parliament, of course, rests with you as the Minister of Justice in consultation with the board of this office. Now, this opens up a trail of correspondence beginning from March to today, to yesterday. Okay? 11th April 2018, they were dealing with legislative instruments, comparing those, exchanging drafts. May 24th, same thing. Legislative instrument for Office of the Special Prosecutor. This is from the Attorney General's office. He says, the above subject refers. Please be informed that further to the draft regulations on the Office of the Special Prosecutor, forwarded to your office on the 18th of April 2018. This office is in the process of preparing another legislative instrument to cater for the scheme of service of staff of the Office of the Special Prosecutor. This office will be grateful if you could forward proposals on the scheme of service to assist us in the drafting of the regulations. Signed by Gloria Akufu, addressed to the Special Prosecutor. Many such things. This is 7th June 2018 on different aspects of the regulations. This is 14th June 2018 from the Office of the Special Prosecutor. Okay, perhaps one needs to read this. It says, kindly refer to your letter, so dated 24th May 2018, in relation to the process of preparing another legislative instrument to cater for the scheme of service of staff of the Office of the Special Prosecutor, which was received in this office on 29th May 2018. I replied to your letter per my letter dated 7 June 2018. You will find attached draft proposals for the Office of the Special Prosecutor Regulations 2018 for your consideration and further action. I have modeled the proposed regulations after the Bureau of National Investigations 2015 LI 2227 to incentivize the staff to put in their best to bring down the abysmal corruption barometer index of Ghana as desired by His Excellency the President within the shortest possible time. I have not included any regulations on the structure of the office because I think the Act sufficiently deals with the matter and avoid any further inconsistency over interpretation between the regulations and the substantive Act. The same goes for any regulations for communications and the chain of command. The third matter I considered and left out is the classification of documents which could be the subject of administrative instructions instead of regulation. I'm forwarding this draft to ensure that work progress on the regulations so that when the board is in place, this matter does not delay any further. I'll put the present draft before the board when it is in place and forward to you any further suggestions they made. Then there's a draft here of regulations. They went on.
So this is the Special Prosecutor working on his own LI?
Both of them are working together,
okay,
obviously. And the thing has progressed to the extent that by 31st August 2018, the Attorney General signs the final draft. Says your letter dated 14th August 2018 with reference number so and so on the above mentioned subject refers. Please find attached for your consideration the draft Office of the Special Prosecutor Operations Regulations which have been revised in accordance with your instructions.
Okay.
The revised provisions have been indicated in bold print. Also attached are comments on the regulations. kindly respond to our comments to enable us complete work on the regulations. Please note that the Director of Legislative Drafting is available for discussion should there be need for any clarification. The point I'm making here is that there is work in progress relative to bringing about these legislative instruments, and both sides are deeply collaborating to ensure this happens. See, the Office of the Special Prosecutor is a very, very important thing. In my opinion, we are creating an institution, creature of law, but an institution is what we are creating that must survive this government that is in the initiator. We are not creating an administrative office. There's an extension. And it's not easy. Before the act came into force, look, it wasn't easy to start mobilizing capital resources and all that for an office that is not backed by law. That itself will bring problems. For anybody who attempt to look for money elsewhere, said I'm building an office, I'm doing this, it's all going to have problems, constitutionally and legally. So if you look at the trajectory, the office came into being, I think, January. If you look here, it's January 2nd, when the date of assent. January 3rd was date of Gazette notification. Then check when the Special Prosecutor himself was sworn into office. Check when his deputy was appointed. That was somewhere in May. Check when the board came into being. This takes time. If you want to do the right thing, take your time and do it well.
So you think he's being unfair by complaining?
No, I will not say him. You see, he was reacting more to the public concern. I'm saying that if I were him, I would not get disturbed by the public agitation of perceived non-performance. Because you see, you must put in place a structure. For instance, the office he was given at Laboni there. It's a disaster of an office, in my opinion, if you are talking of the final shape. But it was meant to be a transitional thing. I am aware that a certain office structure opposite the bank hospital, if you come to East Cantonments, the Nafti area, big structure, about 4-story building, has now been cited as the place for him, but it needs rehabilitation. That place needs rehabilitation and remodeling, and based on what kind of divisions you are going to form and things. Ghanaians are impatient, I agree. We are angry because of the levels of corruption. Okay, we are all angry. Corruption.
No, it's not attacking. It's
corruption. No, I'm not sure. You see, I would not say it might have been inappropriate, the disclosures he made in public relative to some of the issues that are already on board. We dealt with the Legislative Assembly instruments.
That's why some say that is preemptive, to get the public, to measure their expectations.
After that, you can't control the process. You cannot control the public discussions. You cannot control the suspicions and speculations and conjectures and mischief, especially, that people bring to bear on this whole encounter. Apart from that, look, there are other issues we will come to, the logistics, things, how much, what has been given to him in terms of logistics, and those are clearly inadequate. And it's appreciated that within context of time frame, they will be inadequate.
Right.
That
the Deputy
office,
Attorney General says that, Joseph Dimdiok Penka says that money will be released, I think, is it next week or so, and things will be sorted.
So I agree with the point that the office, as we speak, is insufficiently resourced at this time to carry out its mandate. But it is not because somebody has decided that this is the extent of resources you need, and we stop there. Let's be very careful dealing with this office.
Now, you know, by the law, the appointment of a staff, the president has a hand in appointing, certain people to his staff, as a staff to his office. And then also public officers may be transferred or seconded to his office. We understand that he doesn't particularly like the issue of having other officers seconded to his place, but it does look like you can't do away with that. You can't have only fresh people to start with. There are people we understand were giving some training. The U.S. assisted, and some attorneys were taking to the U.S. and giving some training to learn about how that kind of office works in the U.S. You must work with all of these people. So if these people are available, and he's also allowed by the law to engage the services of relevant professional experts, on recommendation of the board, to be able to carry out his functions. And as we are aware, he's been able to do quite some substantial work in the closet, except that there are complaints that he's written several letters requesting for a docket which has not, gotten to him, as we speak, and among other things.
But which docket?
What should he be doing?
This is a crude intrusion.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Right, don't worry.
It's a document.
Yeah.
It's okay.
It's a good
No,
question.
docket. I asked which docket.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, let's restrict it.
Because I have an idea what docket
No,
we
it's
are talking
okay.
about here.
He has authority
right.
to take it from
All right.
the police
Yes.
or other institutions.
Should he be complaining that he's requesting information? You know this law a lot more better, because this is purely a copy from Iyoko and slapped on his law. If he's requesting information and people are not assisting and all of that, should he fold his arms and say, because I don't have the full compliments of my office, I can't work?
Samson, first of all, it is important to reiterate the point that Mr. Martin Amidu has not complained about he being frustrated.
No, he has officially.
No, I want to make the point.
Okay.
I want to make the point. He has not complained that he's been frustrated.
That's not what is in the public
Please,
domain.
let me finish. Counsel.
Okay, okay. There's a letter.
He has rather.
Can I read this one?
He has rather expressed.
Let him make his point. I'll let you read it
he-
and also talk about this docket you have suspicions about.
He has rather expressed his worries about public expectation of him. And he made it clear by saying that the public is baying. I mean, the ordinary meaning of baying, clamor.
Rightly so.
You shouting, you want result and all that. And continued to say that we just set up the office. It's a process. Now, let me take you to Article 51 of the Constitution. The Electoral Commission shall, by constitutional instrument, make regulations for the effective performance of its functions under this Constitution or any other law, and in particular, for the registration of voters, the conduct of public elections and referenda, including provisions for voting by proxy. Now, in the Benjamin Eyi Mensah case, the Supreme Court had to annul the District Assembly elections because at the time the EC set that process in motion, there was no such regulation. Simplicity. EC was clothed by a constitutional mandate to conduct a District Assembly elections.
Yeah.
But the specific regulation
Was not there.
to mandate it to proceed was not there.
Is it not a different scenario?
No, it is
The
not. It is not. The principle
the Constitution, when it provides for a legislative instrument or constitutional instrument, often will deal with a broad subject and leave the details, absent. But where you have an act which contains sufficient enough of what you need,
Bendel,
why do you make a comparison to a constitutional requirement?
No.
That's the view of some.
No, Samson.
It's not my view. That's what it is.
Samson, with the greatest respect,
Yeah.
that enabling act
Yes.
specifically provided, among others, that you need the LI to be able to do A, B, C, and D. Look, these are, hold on.
Need. Yeah.
You need it. No. Yes.
The law says may.
Please.
May. That's what the law says. May.
You know that
May is not that you can't do it.
May does not necessarily make it conditional.
What does the
These are-
what does the Interpretation Act of Ghana say about May?
It's permissible.
I brought.
Hey, it's not by force.
I brought.
It's not by force. So
Yes,
let's go.
but when it comes to human rights matters, you cannot toy with issues of people's rights. You are talking about the power to seize. Iyoko has an ally. FIC has an ally. If Martin Amidu says, look, these are matters that may involve politicians, we do not want a situation where the man will start a prosecution. Somebody goes to Supreme Court for interpretation. I will do it. I've been doing it. If you are unduly frustrating my client, I will also unduly frustrate prosecution. I will go. Because I will ask that, where is your ally? You are coming to seize property? So I agree with the position that the ally must be in force. The ally must be in force. However, the question is, has the AG been adamant? No. The AG and the Special Prosecutor's Office have been working towards achieving that object.
Okay.
Martin Amidu has not blamed the AG. And this is where I come to the advice given me by Papa Wusankuma, my very respected senior, that if you come in and you are told that somebody says, don't quickly read, you listen. In fact, until I listened to Martin Amidu's tape, I had a different opinion.
Okay, actually, Section 78 for the regulations is mandatory. Shall.
Thank you.
Shall.
Which regulations are that?
For the regulations for the Special Prosecutor, it shall.
Read well. You've seen it.
Shall.
You see, sometimes the public, and I agree with the senior, I don't know, the senior interceptor. Hold on, let me finish. Because who was right in saying that when a certain statement is made, you don't control again the mischief.
Yes, that's true.
It's the way you put it. Like last week, Mr. Domlevo called me, explained issues. I had a lot of friends telling me, Afinyo, you said the man should resign. That aspect is what was captured. And again, I felt that, I didn't communicate well. They took it that, Afenyo said the man should resign. That was not my case. Today, he has re-echoed the point that, look, I was saying that submit to due process if you cannot do this. The point here is that Martin Amidu has not blamed the government ministers per se. He's talking about the frustrations associated with the work he's supposed to do. Now, let me give you my own example. I go to Ghana Water, board chairman, I need simple information for my minister. I go and sit in a boardroom 3-4 hours. Then for me, I'll get frustrated and walk away. I come back the next day, sir, you see, I wrote to chief manager this. I wrote and then the secretary. I said, HR, I need this information for minister. I can't. My own board chairman. The managing director needs information. He can't get it in a manner and that either he wants it. So I can understand. A minister of state manning a ministry, when some information is needed, would have to go through the technocrats. So I think that we should not misconstrue the intent of Martin Amidu. Now, these are genuine live frustrations we all go through. He's been a minister before. I've not been a minister before.
Okay.
He knows it.
All right.
Rather, we should encourage those in the public sector, those in the public service, to be supportive when it comes to information that the office would need, so that we don't create the impression as though the man is being frustrated. The man did not say that somebody is not cooperating with him. He never said so.
He says so.
He says so.
Where he's requesting information from officers and he's not getting it.
But it doesn't mean they are not cooperating.
He's not getting.
No. It doesn't mean they are not cooperating with him.
Okay.
And I would agree that.
Thank you. Thank you.
He says so to buttress the point.
Samson, next time don't let this man sit by me.
He says so to buttress the point. The absence of the
today they are resting.
Okay, the absence of the legislative instrument was impeding his work.
Okay, okay, thank you. Do quickly and then let's hear Kuku last. Yes,
please. You come back.
You are incorporating Domlevo now. We'll bring it so that you take care of it quickly. Okay, let him land.
I'm interested in putting.
Okay, let him conclude. Let him conclude. 1 minute. Conclude. Yeah.
This one is what
conclude. Or you should go ahead. Okay, says go ahead. Yeah.
Number one. All of us worked on Special Prosecutor,
yes,
but nobody worked harder than the present AG, her immediate lieutenants, and the persons in the government. I don't see how anybody...
Including Parliament?
Yes, Parliament, everybody.
Yes.
But I don't see how anybody can be said to be frustrating the Special Prosecutor.
The question is, how many entities are not functioning without a legislative instrument where the law requires so?
Remember the problem with
so that's where I'm coming from.
Remember the NPA.
So first,
they didn't have LI.
Let's appreciate that whole LI situation is a general problem. Like you say, many have that problem. Okay, so one, it's not so much.
The Supreme Court has
I beg you, I don't have too much time. Yeah. The next thing that is very important, please, Chair, when you have a constitutional provision, it is fundamental, and no subsidiary legislation can undercut it, whether it is there or not. When we went for the RTI bus branding case, the contention of the AG in fighting our case was that there was no law, and so we couldn't have the information. And the judge ruled that if it is in the Constitution, that right is sufficiently enabled. So your absence of a law does not stop it. Much more LI. An LI is descriptive, is defining of the powers. Now, within the Act, the Special Prosecutor today has the powers of a police person.
I disagree.
Hold on. This is law.
No, I disagree with the line.
Please,
No,
let me finish. Wait. I beg, let me
That's
finish.
really not the law.
I beg you, let me finish.
Kofi, that's not the law.
I beg you. I'm reading the
Kofi,
Constitution.
that's not the law.
Article 297C.
Something we have to debate this in a
Please,
sense.
can I finish?
Yeah, you will finish, but I must
297C.
guide you.
You are not
But because the Supreme Court has ruled on this matter. Then when
I am reading the Constitution. Let me
the
read.
enabling act so provides. Hold on. Don't let us mislead.
Please.
When the enabling act has so provided that you need this in place to take off, you need to have it. The absence thereof, if you act, you would have acted without jurisdiction.
You see,
Clear, simple.
You are therefore elevating the enabling act.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily.
Let me
It
read.
is interlocked. You need it. It's interlocked.
But
you need it.
So your point is
without
that can we proceed? Yeah.
I beg. Let
when
me take my
seniors
time.
are assisting, you
Article
have to take it.
297, I'm reading the Constitution.
No,
It's about
you have
everybody.
to take it.
297C says, where a power is given to a person or authority to do or enforce the doing of an act or a thing, all such powers shall be deemed to be also given as are necessary to enable that person or authority to do or enforce the doing of the act or thing. What it means is that when there is an act empowering you, it is construed that you have every power to act within it. Now, you need an LI to define and prescribe. I think this is the
Are
Constitution.
you saying that the work he has done so
This is the
far is
Constitution.
null and void?
The man today can
Okay,
act
thank
if
you.
he
If
wants
it's not
to,
null and
but
void, then
it is
allow him to
preferred.
make his point. Thank
It is
you.
preferred that we have a better prescribed procedure for doing A and B and C and D and E. The absence of that is not emasculating. The absence of an LI does not negate the powers given within an act. So what I'm simply saying is this. I was going to say something that Kweku has proven. That look, the process is ongoing. So we'll get to the point where we'll have what we need. But strictly speaking, it doesn't stop Martin Amidu from acting.
Thank you. Okay, let me get Kweku to read the document.
But on the matters that
Thank you.
I just want you to
30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds.
we need an LI to
Thank you. 30 seconds. No, sorry. You know what? He said that you have repeated that it's okay. It's made.
We're just saying
Right.
simply that state institutions, we just discussed it in terms of the men's code. State institutions have been rendered indolent by reason of the absence of certain things. Do you want that to continue with the special prosecutor?
That's what we are saying.
So that is why you shouldn't be reading implied powers.
Okay.
When there
Thank
is
you.
the power to
When a constitution provides, it could give you just a page or even a paragraph, and end of it, it has provided your powers.
Yeah.
That is why there's a need without.
Yes.
There's a need to make sure that you don't act without the constitutional instrument. But when you have an act which is several pages long,
You can still act
yeah, okay, thank you. Let's go to Kweku. Let's go to Kweku. Let's go to Kweku.
He's making us
Let's go to Kweku.
something enough.
Yeah, okay.
Something
Thank you. Yes, Kweku. So you were going to read a letter, which I said you read that and tell us about this docket that you.
That
Yeah.
Mr. Martin Amidu has officially communicated his frustrations to the government.
Right.
It's not in doubt.
That's right.
And I say official because this letter is dated 10th September 2018.
Right.
And it's from the Office of the Special Prosecutor to the Chief of Staff. And just some 2 or 3 paragraphs to illustrate the point I'm making. It says the Special Prosecutor accepted to be appointed to the Office of the Special Prosecutor on the understanding that the essential logistics for the running of an efficient and effective anti-corruption agency had already been planned and acquired for the use of the office. I'm not sure who told him this. Whoever tried to do that would have violated the law. The past 6 months have been ones of frustration and inertia experienced by the Special Prosecutor. It's him talking. It has now become clear that even with the Secretary and the Chief Accountant in place, the frustrations and inertia cannot be overcome within the next 3 months or so. In the interim, the Special Prosecutor continues to take the blame from the public for inaction and non-performance. This is what has triggered his public thing.
Okay.
Maybe it's enough.
Yes.
The elders,
Yeah,
but it's
I
enough.
say you
This
speak to
captures.
you speak to the docket matter.
You see,
No, I'm not
but here
leading into
I've heard people say dockets. What I'm aware is that it's just a docket that at this stage he's asking for. I'm not too sure about the nature of the docket, but it's a docket to do with the Republic versus George Yawusu and Kwame Bewa Edusei. This docket is the UO group matter. If he's looking for that docket, I can see an extension. You see, somewhere along the line, he's also talking of a $15 million money he claims the UO group gave to Ghana government, which he says somebody diverted. I'm sure we all know what we are talking about here. I always draw an extension between the charges that were preferred, or the investigations that were conducted into how UO group came about 3.5% in the Jubilee oil fields, and the decision that they had done some forgery here and there, so ought to be prosecuted. I draw an extension between that one and this alleged $15 million thing, which my own checks indicate is a myth. But it appears that our good friend, the special prosecutor, puts all together under the category of a docket relative to UO group. Those forgery charges, the investigations by the police, as well as how the assignment, they were allowed to assign their 3.5 to, is it Talo?
Talo,
So it appears he has a quest to interrogate that issue. I have absolutely nothing against that in principle. If he thinks there was something fishy and he wants the appropriate documents to deal with, why not? It appears that the former Deputy Attorney General's name is featuring our friend Ayini, Dominic. Yes, it appears he is the one who perhaps can tell where the docket is. But I wonder how we keep our records, why it should be an individual. Do you understand? Who should be brought on board to tell us where a docket is. But maybe we don't keep records well in this country. And maybe, question, really, is it worth pursuing the UO group? I'm not too sure.
But even,
Okay,
but
you wrote the forward to that book, The Promise of Oil.
I know a lot about that.
Yeah, so maybe
matter.
you send him a copy. I think there's a bit of a discussion in there
what
when I got one. You send him a copy to read.
No, that's a common sense.
30 seconds, I'm going for a break.
I don't know. Listening to Koko this morning, do we still need the right to information bill?
We do.
Why are you going there?
We did.
Because even that law is intercepting a lot of information.
Am I the only?
Okay.
That's all right, journalists have that capability.
So we take a quick break at this point. Welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform on your CIMG Media Organization of the Year, Multimedia Group. Now, my guests have been Abdul Malik Kubako, Kofi Bento, Yunus Afuseni, and Afinyo Making. Now, you've got a lot of things to say, comments to make about the matters that we are discussing here. I'll try and read just a couple, and then we will look at the Auditor-General and see what happens. I was saying that the book written by Mr. George Yawusu and whose foreword was done by Kwekubako Jr. Maybe the special prosecutor may have read portions of it and may get some clarity unless he doesn't trust the book because of the author. In Pursuit of Jubilee. In Pursuit of Jubilee. That's the book I was referring to. Now, just a couple of your messages. And Ejadam says that Men's Gold has been enriching Ghanaians for 6 years now. Where was the state machinery? SEC, Ghanaians never asked where he got a whopping $10 million to sponsor our defunct Ghana Premier League. The creative industry, on the other hand, was more or less dead, and no one is talking about the infrastructure he is building, the millions of jobs he has created. Our hypocritical attitude as people is the reason we are still begging. We preach about nurturing entrepreneurship to foster growth of the private sector and quickly kill them. Kofi Atta in Cambridge, I suspect of him, he says the creation of the Office of the Special Prosecutor to fight the stealing of public resources is unnecessary because there are more laws, rules, and regulations in Ghanaian statute books to effectively fight the canker of corruption, of stealing, and so on and so forth. Who is next? Okay, let me just read you this one too before. Is it the same as Adam had suggested that Mr. Martin Amidu should not disgrace us because his lamentations will mean to people that he is not competent enough to use the power vested in him. Seth Pinion Bwama says, what do you expect when those with investment in men's gold, even at this stage, still consider men's gold as a genuine business and not a Ponzi, and therefore see sex intervention as an orchestration by government to close them down out of jealousy? Okay, yes. If you listen to many of the people who went to Men's Gold yesterday, those were some of the comments. They are actually blaming the government and the regulators for what is happening to Men's Gold.